All right, hello, Groovy Souls. Snow on the trail here. I hope you're doing well. This is the second try. Let me know if this is working. Let's see here. Okay, I hope I'm doing this right. Let's see here. I wish it would let me get a link. Actually, I know what I can do. I can go over to mine. Let's see what we got here. All right. Hey, we've got some people coming in here. Hello, Groovy Souls. This is Wander here. I hope you guys are doing well. Give me a shout out in the chat if you can hear me and see me. I think it's working okay. Let me know if it's not. I'm trying to get this thing tweaked and going. I'm seeing some activity on the mic, so I think we're good. I hope we're good. I got a like, so I think that's good. So how's everyone doing out there today? I am officially in Calgary. We started on Vancouver Island on April the 28th. And now we're right here, right on time, right on schedule. I am getting things posted on Blue Sky and all of that. I'm sorry for this coming out so late and all of the technical difficulties. YouTube does not always make it easy, let me tell you. But here we go. Live now. Boom, boom, boom. Working. Awesome. Hello, Corum. I hope you're doing well out there. So, yeah, over like 400 miles covered so far on the Canada expedition. About 3 or 4,000 left to go. Things are doing well. The bike is functioning well. Everything is just kind of like, truck and ride along. Uh, oh man, I have been so tired the last few days. Let me tell you. Um, so I thought I'd open this up just to some questions, just to let you guys kind of, ask me what's going on, what you guys are thinking about, stuff like that. Still trying to get everything out. I accidentally set this up for an encoder stream, and I tried to fix it, and it ended up being just absolute chaos. So we're getting going about 17 minutes too late. I'm waiting for people to kind of start to funnel in and to settle in. So yeah, it's snowing outside. It's just a few degrees above 0 centigrade, about 32 or 33 degrees Fahrenheit. Absolutely frosty. I'm going to get a late start tomorrow and only go like 5 or 10 miles away from where I'm at. And then I'm going to shut down again because the weather is still going to be poor and I couldn't extend this place by a day. Um, But hopefully I'll be back to the tent after that. It's supposed to warm up rapidly. Apparently, these kind of spring storms are fairly normal for Alberta. It's been a total trip being here. Mountain weather is often chaotic. It's just kind of part and parcel of being in like big mountains. And so I was ready for that. I was ready for the wind and the random rainstorms and thunderstorms and stuff that just kind of happen. But Alberta is a completely different beast. The level of variance in the weather in the mountains was much more extreme than I'd ever encountered before. Um, and on top of that, there was a blizzard that hit just a few days before I left Vancouver Island, and I thought that would probably be the end of it. But the thing is that there's another major winter storm hitting right now in the middle of spring. We're almost to summer. Like we are 35 days from the official start of the summer. Sundown's already at like 9:30 at night. But yeah, it's snowing outside. So, okay, I guess that totally happens. Um, it's new to me. It really is. But I'm looking forward. I'm heading actually north. Going to get pretty close to the Arctic Circle, heading up towards Edmonton to see a buddy up there, and I'm going to be there for a couple days. And then after that, it's heading straight east for Saskatoon. I'm about 2,500 miles from Toronto once I get up to Edmonton. It looks like if I maintain the kind of mileage I was maintaining through the mountains or exceed it, I'll be in Toronto at the very beginnings of July, which is just incredible. That means that I'm likely to be at my target of St. John's in Newfoundland by the very end of August or the first week or two of September, which is great because I'm flying out from Vancouver Airport for Melbourne, Australia on October the 4th, or wait, October the 5th. So, and I'm getting there on the 7th because international date lines are a thing. So that'll give me plenty of time to head across. My current plan is to rent a van and to basically set up camp inside the van and then just kind of burn back across the continent and do kind of a van life thing for about a week and or more, and just depending on how much I can make the budget work. Budget is pretty strained right now, and then just kind of have fun going back that way, see fall in Canada, and then head on for spring in Australia. I'm going to be tracing the coast of Australia, the east coast. There was a lot of people concerned about me crossing the outback. It seemed like I'd be getting to Darwin at the very beginning of the monsoon season, so that's a thing. But I'm looking forward to the coast. It's been interesting because like a lot of people are like, well, that route, it's not too exciting. It's not too interesting. That's not usually the case for me. I'll never forget, I was going across Europe my first time, and I crossed through the Elbe Tunnel in Hamburg. And after you get through the Elbe tunnel in Hamburg, it kind of dumps you out into this more industrial area where there are these oil refineries, and there's this massive Ford Motors factory and all this other stuff. And it's very industrial, and it's kind of ugly, and it's almost spooky because, like, I mean, there's cars in the parking lots everywhere, but there's almost no people out on the sidewalks because, of course, everyone's in the factories and the refineries and they're working. And it's not any kind of traditionally beautiful thing, but it is fascinating to me. And I had never been there before. And I've been through that area twice now, both coming and going through Europe. And that's the thing. It's, a lot of people, like when they're out there hiking and they're out there riding, they're really focused on that, like, oh, I guess you could call it like the tourist experience or the find like the most beautiful thing that they possibly can. They want to get to this particular mountain with this particular view, so it's at this particular angle, and that's completely valid. Like that's a completely like valid reason to hike and that, or bike. There's really no wrong way to do it except a way that doesn't work for you. But for me, I have found that my passion is simply the motion. And wherever I find myself, I'm honestly happy to be there. Like, I've been on the Trans Canada Highway and the 1A for the last couple days, and it's a busy road, and there's lorries that are just busting by me at high rates of speed and things like that. And it's not always fun, but it's fascinating. It's been beautiful. Like I've got the mountains all around me. Now it's giving way to like prairies. There was this picture of this church in my highlight reel yesterday. Took it from the side of the road on the 1A, but it is so quintessentially like Wild West frontier kind of vibes with the Canada kind of flair to it. And it's really been neat to me to see like that scenery change and to see how the architecture has changed and to see how my world has changed. So when I look at my coastal route through Australia, while some people might call it kind of boring, I've never been to Australia. I'm looking forward to seeing that part of the Pacific Ocean. I'm looking forward to roaming the beach communities in their early spring and summer season. And I've got time to range. If I average just 20 miles a day, and right now, guys, I'm averaging like 55 to 60 miles a day, I I'll still make it to my target in Cairns with about 5 days to spare. So that means that I've got probably a month of extra time where I can range off trail and I can go see things and I can like head into the jungles or something and just really get to experience it. One of the things I'm looking most forward to about that trip is actually just the night sky. The view of the stars in the southern hemisphere is a lot more intense and a lot more dense than it is up here in the northern hemisphere because that part of the globe faces a more populated part of the Milky Way. Our night sky up here in the northern hemisphere is honestly depopulated compared to what they get in the south because of our relative position to the rest of the galaxy, where we're pointed more towards a void area in space. Which, I mean, I've been up in the high Sierras and looked up at the night sky, and that just boggles my mind. But getting to see the Southern Cross, stuff like that, that's going to be absolutely powerful. And then if I can make the money work, and if I've got some regular support coming in by that time, I'm going to try to make it over to New Zealand and then hopefully Taiwan and Japan. But that's very much a sketch right now, and it also depends on like current geopolitical like situations and stuff. I jumped on my ticket to Australia because the price went up over 20% in a week as I was watching it because of current geopolitical issues. This thing that's happening in Iran is messing it up a lot, and so there's a possibility that I'll land here back in Vancouver, which is my current plan in January, and then I'll make a plan about where to go after that that's warmer and more affordable. We'll just have to see what happens. But the whole goal is to not really ever stop touring on the cycle. The whole goal is to basically be living on the bike for as much as possible for as long as they possibly can, because that's where I feel called, you know. But I've been kind of rambling for about like 5 or 10 minutes now, so I'm gonna reach out to you guys. Let me know questions, comments, concerns, anything you guys want to know. I mean, we got the chat here. Talk with me. You know, this is not just about me monologuing. This is a space for us to interact and meet up. I'm going to try to do this as I hit every major milestone. The next one might be Saskatoon or potentially Winnipeg. But the I didn't get eaten by a bear live stream is all about the fact that my parents were very worried that I was going to have a grizzly encounter. And it's like I've got the bear spray on the bike and the air horn and all that other kind of stuff. Like I am ready for those bears. And I make the joke, I have two bear bells on so they know dinner is coming. Yeah, totally, totally true. And yeah, so I'm going to just hand this over to you guys for a minute. I'm going to just kind of hang out and watch the chat. There's only two people, but I think that's possibly because I messed up on that stream. It's not my fault. I know that, buddy. But it's still, kind of threw a wrench into the works. But yeah, but overall, I'm feeling confident. This rest day was definitely needed. Like I said, I'm only going a few miles tomorrow, and then I'm going to be resting some more. So I'm going to have a little bit of active recovery going forward, and I'm hoping that means on Monday I'm going to be able to roll quite hard. I'm honestly kind of shocked by how well I went through the Rockies. I was planning for 30 miles a day at most because of the climbs and for all of that. Guys, I was averaging about 50 to 55 miles a day, which is what I was planning for the prairies. My maximum elevation was 5,800 feet. My maximum elevation gaining day was 4,300 feet. And that's 1,800 meters, something like that. I'm kind of bad on the conversion, but I mean, I did a 77-mile day going over Rogers Pass. That absolutely boggles my mind. That's the farthest I've ever cycled. The farthest I'd ever cycled before was 73 miles when I was on flat canal roads coming out of Paris heading towards Belgium. And now I'm opening up into the prairies where the biggest worry I'm going to have are rolling hills at times. In fact, there's not even going to be serious spiky climb days really again until I get to Ontario. That's just wild. So we actually might start seeing 110, 120 mile days out of me because I do not mind getting into the saddle at 6:30 in the morning and cycling for 11 hours solid. It just doesn't bother me. I like being on the bike. I like being in motion. I'm running with about 60 pounds of gear right now. I'm trying to cut some of that down. A lot of that's food and water. I've been carrying more water and more food because it's been so remote through the mountains. And I get kind of anxious about running out of food because, legitimate concern when you don't know when the next resupply is going to be. It was kind of funny when I was coming off of Kicking Horse Pass 2 days ago. My routing has been a bit chaotic through the mountains. It really has been. And one of the things, Komoot tries to get me off the busy highways as much as possible. I'm actually trying a new routing software for my route up to Edmonton because I don't mind being on the busy highway if it gets me where I'm going and it doesn't cause travel chaos. But the route that Komoot would have me on is I'd be on the Trans-Canada and I'd be going on the Trans-Canada 1, just rocking right along, and then it'd say take the exit. And it would take me on an exit and a 5-mile detour with a 2,000-foot elevation gain so that I could get off of the Trans-Canada for 2 miles. And that was the only logic for it. And so I learned to start ignoring when it told me to take exits. I would just plow through on the Transcan. Often the elevation was better because it's graded for trucks. And I would just meet it up further down the road. And my bike computer could just complain at me. But this time, I was coming through the Lake Louise exit, and it told me to get off on the 93. And I was like, heck no, because there's like this really big climb and I was tired and the thunderstorm was starting. I'm like, I'm going to just stay on the Trans Canada one. Well, the problem that I discovered quite rapidly is that the Trans Canada one is basically like an express. So there are no exits except every 10 or 15 or 20 or 30 kilometers. And there are no services. And it is nothing but straight, flat road, which is objectively rad after going over Kicking Horse. But all of a sudden, it is pissing it down rain, and all of the campsites, all of the hostels, all of the services are on the 93, and I can't get there. And so the only thing that I could do was put my head down and push through the storm. Everywhere I tried to get off where I could pitch my tent to camp it, no camping. Great. So I ended up pushing further on, like 68 total miles after going over Kicking Horse. And I ended up in this really awesome hostel. Shout out to Sandra if she's watching this later on. Really rad lady from Edinburgh, Scotland, who was the host there at the hostel. And it was absolutely fine after that. But that's the thing, when you can't trust your routing, it leads to sometimes you make the wrong choice. So but very remote, like I said. So if I was in need of resupply, if I was in need of groceries, I would have been in honest to God trouble there. So I've been carrying more. I'm hoping now that we're getting out into the prairie lands and I'm going to be more on highways and things like that with more regular resupply, it's going to get easier in that regard. But we'll just have to see how that goes going forward. You guys are being quiet out there. I see that there's a whole two of you here, but I think Corlin, you're probably still around. But things are just kind of moving right along. Um, I'm thinking that I might be trying to replace my cassette and my crank set when I get to Winnipeg. I'm still having some indexing issues sometimes, which is basically like when you hit the button to shift the bike and it moves the chain, but that's just like a constant issue. Indexing is always a constant issue because the bike is under load, the chain is wearing in, things like that. But it is getting time to think about like cassette and crankset and all of that. Maybe bottom bracket by that time, which is what holds the pedals onto the bike. I'm just trying to plan out my maintenance going forward. But overall, the bike is just performing really well. It's handling everything like a trooper. Those Genesis road bikes are just, I got them because they're supposed to be world class. I'm not disappointed. She's one of 5,000. She's like 4,546 of her production year. And she's just been absolutely amazing to have. And I'm hoping that this is going to be the touring bike that's going to be with me for the next like 20, 25 years. The one thing that I really the two things I really want to do that are optional, but I'm hoping to do them in the next year, is I want to put a roll-off hub on the back end, which would completely fix my drivetrain issues forever. And I wouldn't have to worry about a breakdown when I'm remote in Australia. And I want to put a dynamo on the front, so I'm constantly generating power to keep things like my camera going and all of that for video. Hello, Starflyer. Welcome to the stream. I hope you're doing well. I heard that you finally got your bike. Did you end up getting that REI bike that we were talking about? Let me know. And let me know how you're liking it. You seem like a rock solid frame. I heard that you kind of had a rough go getting her home, but welcome to the cycling world. Once the bug bites you, you can really get into it. Let me tell you. I'm over here crossing Canada now. So, it's one of those things that happens when you get into a serious biking expedition. It'll get you in shape. Um, One of the cool things about cycling is that it's pretty easy to get into zone 2 and zone 3 after a while, and there is like no better thing for conditioning than being in zone 2 and zone 3 with the occasional peak to zone 4. And you can hit zone 4 real easy. Just find your nearest hill and try to truck up that thing. But uh, it's pretty neat. You're one of two people so far that I've inspired to get back on the bicycle. The other one is my dear friend Doggo. Um, hey, you'd be surprised. There is always a hill somewhere, and if I am routing, I will find that hill. Not because I want to, but because that is my luck. I find hills like pigs find truffles. It's just it's just my fate in life. I was honestly expecting like glorious downhill and lots of flats coming out of the Rockies, but unlike on the western side, it's your traditional foothill situation. So I'm still at like 4,100 feet, and it's constant foothills. Uh, which yesterday was like, when's it gonna stop? When's it ever gonna stop? I was so tired. My knees were hurting, my legs were hurting. I woke up today so sore because I have not taken a break since kicking horse. And that's just kind of the way that it goes. Um, so I'm really grateful for the rest day today. Um, you know, uh, and that's the thing, like rest is as important to progress as doing the work. So, slow and steady wins the race. The tortoise was right. Um, that's just part of the world. But yeah, let's see what we got here. Nope, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I wanted. There we go. So, you got a live out there? Oh, we got 4 people now. Hello to the next person that kind of came in. Um, Hey, buddy. I announced it yesterday. It was kind of last minute. I just thought that since I was here for the Sticks and Bricks, that I would make this available because this is really the end of phase 1 here in Canada. We've made it across the Rockies through British Columbia, and now we're crossing the prairie lands. I'm hoping to do another live stream when I get to Saskatoon, which is like an 8-hour drive. So, like, maybe like a week or two. I'm going to try to do these and announce these ahead of time, but it's hard to predict the exact day I'm going to get there until I'm like 24, sometimes 48 hours out, because I just don't know what the world's going to do or the bike is going to do or things like that. Simon, I'm really glad that you made it in. I was really hoping that you would show up. I try to set these things up so that that they're accessible to all of my buddies over there in Europe that have been following me since I was on the Europe tour. So and hoping to get back there next year. We'll just have to like see how, like I said, finances and all that other kind of stuff work out. Um, we're building. We're up to 160 people. I need 1,000 people to start monetizing the channel and stuff like that. But we're building. I have not seen any bears. I am unlikely to from this point. Watch tomorrow. I'll run into 2 grizzlies and a black bear. But I've been all the way through the mountains, no bear sightings. I've heard coyotes. I've heard coyotes a lot. I've seen elk a lot of elk, bighorn sheep. Um, I got chased by a dog outside of Merritt. I went through a herd of free-ranging cattle. Um, yeah, that was 2 days out of Abbotsford. So lots of wildlife encounters and livestock encounters, but no bears, no moose, no cougar. You'll never see the cougars coming. The two critters that I'm most concerned about encountering, or was the most concerned about encountering in the mountains, were cougars and moose. Bears, I know how to deal with. There's been some high profile grizzly attacks in the last few weeks, which is rather unusual in both like Yellowstone and I think Glacier. But the thing is that it's very unusual for that to happen. When I was at the hostel in Castle Mountain a couple days ago, um, there were 3 confirmed grizzlies in the area. Park officials had come by and warned everyone that there were active grizzlies that were seen like in the area around the hostel. And so when I was rolling out of the Bow Parkway, I had my head on the swivel. I was doing all of my bear abatement. I had my bear spray in a quick shot holster on my bike. And one of the easiest ways to avoid seeing a bear is to yell at regular intervals. So you will hear when the videos of Enjoy come out of me riding through the Bow Valley Parkway and stuff, Mr. Bear, I am here. Because that's a good way, because bears generally want to avoid people. They will challenge you if you're near their cubs, or if they're startled and they think that you're a threat to them. But by and large, bears are manageable. Cougars are ambush predators. You will never see them until they are jumping on top of you. It is really hard to spot a mountain lion before it is right on your butt. And moose, especially bull moose in mating season, are just megafauna that are absolute nightmare fuel to deal with. Honestly, if I was like way up down deep in like Alaska or whatever, I'd probably go with a 45 on my hip, where it's legal, because because moose especially are no joke. And it's fairly common for people to carry in Alaska because of they have Kodiak grizzlies, which are grizzlies on steroids up there, and bull moose aplenty. But here in Canada, the bear spray is enough. You don't have to worry too much about like wildlife encounters and things like that. Especially if you're doing, doing the right. In fact, hold on one second. This is an Adotech. Let me see if I can get it in frame. Grizzly bear bag. This is rated to withstand a grizzly bear attack. This holds all of my food, and the bag inside of it is called a lock sack. It is a smell abatement bag. It masks the smell of my food. So between those two things, I can tie that to a tree about 30 meters, about 100 feet away from my camp. And the smell of my food is almost zero out of it. And the bag itself, if they do find it, it won't let them through. And so it basically minimizes my risk. At the end of the day, when I'm in bear country, there's this whole ritual where I take anything that has like a food-like scent, my sunscreen, my toiletries, my food, my everything else. And I seal it up in that bear bag and in the smell proof bag, and then I cinch it down real tight and I tie it to a tree and I back off. And those kinds of abatements are important because they minimize your chance of contact. Like there's what's called the 30-meter golden triangle of safety, which is roughly 100 feet in imperial, where you do not cook 100 feet from where you store your food, and you do not camp 100 more than less than 100 feet from where you're storing your food and where you're keeping your food. And that creates a triangle of safety. And that way, if you're not concentrating the food scents and other attractants in one place, that will draw them to you. So the food is over here, you cook over here, and then you camp down here. And it minimizes your chance of encounter. These are important things to consider when you go out into the back country, and people disregard them at their peril. They did a recent survey of thru hikers, which are people that are basically should be considered professional backpackers on the Appalachian Trail. And roughly 60% of people were still sleeping with their food in their tent. They were cooking at their tent in bear country. This is how you encounter bears. You know, I told that story the last time in my live stream back in Sweden about how my buddy AWOL forgot that she had a baguette in her bag, and she was wild camping, cowboy camping under the stars in a distributed campsite near just north of Yosemite. And she woke up to a black bear chewing through her backpack and drooling on her. And of course, she screamed, and the bear screamed and ran off, because black bears are like big raccoons most of the time. They're very skittish and they do not want a fight. And then everyone's yelling bear in camp, as the bear is hauling butt across camp with bits of baguette dropping from its maw. And the next time I saw her, her backpack was duct taped to the nines, because I'm pretty sure she about pissed herself too, Simon. She recounts that with, I mean, it was a little bit traumatic waking up and staring at, a bear like that. But that's why you do those things. That is a living object lesson in why being cognizant and attentive is important. And you can do everything right and still have a bear encounter. That's why you carry the air horn and bear spray. You start with the air horn, you end with bear spray. The big mega bear spray can that I have lasts for about 8 seconds. Once you discharge, it keeps going. So you use the air horn first, because that's generally enough to start a charge. Most bear charges are bluff charges. But yeah, is there a goal I would like to do? Well, I want to cycle on every continent on the Earth, including Antarctica. I don't know how I would get to Antarctica. That's a whole ball of wax. But I want to do Australia, which is coming up in October, New Zealand, Taiwan, Japan, India, Nepal. I said Japan. I want to go back to Europe, and I want to see as much of Europe as possible. I want to cycle all the way around the United Kingdom. I want to trace the UK. I want to start in London and go to the coast and follow the coast all the way around up through Wales and Scotland and all of that. I want to start in Portugal, go around by the south along the Mediterranean, then take a ferry over to Italy, Greece, then see Eastern Europe and the Baltic regions. Um, and yeah, the goal is hopefully to keep cycling until I'm just too old and broken to do it anymore, which is hopefully like 30 or 40 years away. The only thing that is going to slow me down is honestly the money, because unless I can get my channel to monetize and I start like bringing in regular people. That's why I'm always like saying, like, share, subscribe if you can, tell all of your friends about me if you can, and if you're willing, donations definitely help, because the more that I can make this a self-sustaining venture, then that means that I can bring more of the world to you guys. I want to make this world as accessible as possible to people. Um, that's like really important to me. There are so many amazing and beautiful things that you will never see in a car or by traveling by plane or by hitting tourist spots. I feel like I had an encounter in Europe like most people that aren't from Europe will never have, because I was living on the bike and camping in my tent, and I was going from small town to small town, not just tourist site to tourist site. And I find that very valuable. I consider my journey kind of a pilgrimage, and a way to encounter and experience the world. And I never want to stop. I love this. Even the ugly, hard parts are wonderful. Um, the last 2 days since Kicking Horse have been really tough. They've been really, really hard on me physically. The body's just exhausted, and that's understandable. Like I was speaking earlier before you came in, I was averaging like 55, 60 miles a day through the Rockies. Um, I'm still blown away that I went that hard through the Rockies. But I wake up every day and I'm so excited to go again. And I don't have that with like anything else I've ever done that I've tried to make, a life out of. And so why stop? Just keep on going for that horizon until I can't anymore, until circumstances force me to stop. Um, I don't do well with just sitting in one place for too long. And that's always been my story. Um, the world doesn't make it easy to be a nomad, but what's worthwhile is seldom easy, right? You know, and I've had all of these opportunities to make these amazing connections, um, like with you, Simon. I mean, you're over there in the UK, and I would have never gotten the privilege of knowing you if I didn't start this channel and start sharing things. And I think about that a lot. There are so many people now that are following me that I've just met out there on the road. And they're like, do you have a YouTube? Do you have an Instagram? Oh, yeah, I'm Wonder Hair on YouTube and Snowy Trails on Instagram. And yeah, exactly. There was a moment when I was on the Pacific Crest Trail back in 2021 that's going from the border of the US and Mexico to the border of US and Canada across California, Oregon, and Washington. And I was up way high in the high Sierras, up by this alpine lake. Absolutely beautiful and almost unearthly kind of scenery. Way up above 10,000 feet, it's a completely different world. And you'll see these lakes with extremophiles in them, and the lakes are rainbow colored, and the different colors are caused by the temperature in the water and the bacteria that exist within them that are adapted to live in those conditions. And I'm looking around at rainbow lakes and beautiful starry skies at night and strange insects and all this other kind of stuff. And I realized that I was one of the few people in this world that would ever get to see those things that way, because I was willing to hike 1,000 miles up a hill to see it. And then I realized that with the camera and the camcorder, my little GoPro that's right there, my little instant 360 camera and all of that, that I could make it accessible in some ways to other people. And it felt like both a privilege and a mission to do that from that point forward. You know, this world is full of wonders. It's full of so many beautiful things. And it's so easy to miss that. You know, in some of my earlier videos, I often talked about how the news can give you a negative perspective on the world, you know? But that's the thing. For all of the ugly that is occurring, there is so much natural and other kind of beauty. There's the kindness of others. There's all of these amazing experiences. I met a dude named Russell in Malacca as I was going up towards Rogers Pass. And he started talking to me about all of the things to watch out for as I was going up Rogers Pass and as I was going through the prairies. And I met a construction worker who gave me a bottle of water as I was going by, and he told me about the tunnels and stuff. And these people didn't know me from Adam. I'm an American. You know, there's tensions between America and Canada right now. None of that mattered. They saw a traveler that was there with the best of intentions, and all they wanted to do was help. And, you know, that has been my consistent experience. The second that people know what I'm doing, and they see what I'm doing, and they see my intent, and they see my heart, they just want to help. They just want to be part of it. And that is profoundly beautiful to me. I feel so privileged that I get to see that side of humanity in the world. And I get to share that a little bit because it's so easy to get lost in the noise of everything else that is happening. You know, Thomas Paine famously said, my religion is to do good and the world is my country. And I take a lot of purpose and mission from that statement, you know? So the idea is to keep doing that, to keep going out there, to keep, you know, giving hope or bringing the hope of the good that I encounter to other people, you know? So that's kind of where I'm at right now. I just hope that I can keep doing it. You know, and so that's one of the reasons why I'm working so hard to build on YouTube and stuff like that. Is so that there is a way that by bringing this to people, I can also make this sustainable. You know, because we are on a shoestring. But you know, I've got a great bike. My equipment is solid. I pretty much got everything I need. I'm really hoping to do a lot more camping going forward. There's been a lot more sticks and bricks days than I expected, but I'm excited that I'm actually getting out into the prairies. And the prairies I understand because I grew up in the prairies of West Texas. And and So it's real easy to go like 2 miles down the dirt road and find an old derelict, broken down house that no one's lived in for 50 years, and you can camp behind it. And no one's ever going to see you, and no one's ever going to find you. And so that's kind of the hope, is to kind of wild camp out in the bush a little bit. So actually, I'm going the opposite direction. I'm going east across Canada, Simon. The ultimate hope is to end on St. John's in Newfoundland. It's an island about as far out into the Atlantic as you can get and still be in North America. After that, I am hoping to pack the bike into a van and do kind of like a week of van life across Canada. Just basically setting up my camp inside the van and stopping in rest areas and things like that. And then October the 5th, I am boarding an airplane for Melbourne, Australia. And I'm going from Melbourne to Cairns along the eastern Pacific coast of Australia. Alaska is not currently on my bingo card, but eventually I am hoping to start in Vancouver and go all the way up the Alcan Highway and hopefully end above the Arctic Circle. But that is farther in the future. That is going to take a lot of planning and a lot of changes to the world to make that possible. So, all right, guys, we've been streaming for almost an hour. I'm going to let this go for about another 10 minutes, and then I'm going to start to wind down. So, at this point, any kind of questions, comments, concerns, anything you want to talk about, just keep on asking me. Yeah, exactly. The hope is to start basically chasing the spring and the summer, where basically I'll be in the southern hemisphere when it's winter up in North America, and I'll be up here in the northern hemisphere when it's winter in the southern hemisphere. And that way I'm always kind of touring where it's at least marginally warm. The fact that it's currently like 2 degrees in Calgary right now, buddy, is kind of a wrench in the works, but that's why I'm in the sticks and bricks today and not camping out. When you've got, 100-kilometer-an-hour winds and snow and, 2 degrees above 0 centigrade, you generally want to take a sticks and bricks if you can manage it. So that's kind of where we are right now. I am going to be going to a bike shop called The Bike Shop North after this, and then like heading off to do a little bit more supply, just a little this and that. But it should be good. I'm only going a few miles tomorrow, and I'm shutting down yet another sticks and bricks because the weather is still going to be terrible. And then Monday, we're going to be rolling hard for Edmonton, So it should be good. It should be good. Should be solid. Are you guys enjoying the journey so far? Are you enjoying the highlight reels? Are you enjoying the messages I'm putting out every day? Is there something you would like to see? Is there something I could do better? I want to make sure that I'm opening up for feedback because, the more that I can do for you guys, that you guys are part of the mission, and connecting with you guys. It's been a little sporadic the last few days. Oh, you got fold-out panniers. Send me a link to those if you would. I'm very curious what you got. I'm running with Ortolab gear because it's just some of the best gear in the world for touring. And I've got 35-liter red Expedition Extra Larges right now and gravel packs. I've really got more space than I need, which is both a good thing and a bad thing. But I'm running with a lot more weight, and I'm hoping to cut some of that back, but it's really hard to cut when I'm as optimized as I am. And I'm pretty used to it. Kick a policeman in every country. That might get me kicked out of a country pretty fast, Simon. Honestly, I've kind of got an irrational phobia of police, just because I know the kind of power that they have, and that kind of scares me. It's like, oh, you could completely disrupt my ability to tour the world. I'm going to avoid you. Um, but yeah, exactly. Ordelab is an investment. But let me tell you, they back up their stuff. I tore off the pocket of my extra large expedition panniers that I was running around with in Europe, and they got back to me within 24 hours and sent out replacement parts so that I was able to repair it. So like their warranty is rock solid. And Ordelab, if you happen to see this, sponsor me. Um, I'll talk about you every video. but um, but as you know, it's all good. Also, VOD, another German brand that's fairly well known. They're really good too. Um, who else? If you ever win the lottery, I hear that Tailfin is absolutely amazing gear, but they make Ordeleb look cheap in terms of their pricing, which is insane. Um, and all that. It's been really kind of fun and interesting getting back over to North America, because so much of the bike packing gear that is available is mainly available in North America. It's very hard to source in Europe. So things like Tailfin, Old Man Mountain, Apidura, stuff like that, it's a lot easier to find here. Osprey. Osprey makes a lot of bikepacking gear, believe it or not. I was really surprised to hear that, and or to find that. I'm actually running with an Osprey frame bag right now because I was desperate to replace my top tube bag, which ripped off, and then I replaced it with a top tube bag when I was able to find one, an Evoc. It's an Evoc top tube bag, which is just absolutely cycle legendary. It's blue gray, so it kind of sticks out, but hey, that's fine. A little bit of splash of color is never a bad thing. But all right, guys, it's been an awesome hour. I'm going to shut this down here and get moving on my day. But thank you, all three of you, or four of you, for showing up. Shout out to Corlin, Starflyer, Simon. You guys are the absolute raddest. I'll try to give you guys more notice for the next one, but expect another live stream in the next few weeks when I reach Saskatoon. That's in Saskatchewan. There's lots of sass in Saskatchewan. And we'll see you out there. Let's see, end stream.